So with the playoffs coming up, I've already informed y'all that I got some videos coming out about the postseason, previewing some things, teams, players, all of that stuff. And this video is going to be no different. We're going to talk about teams that need to win the championship this season and why they are in that predicament and what will be the aftermath if they don't do it. Make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and press that bell for post notifications. It helps me out with the channel a ton. But without further ado, let's start off with the first team, and we got the Miami Heat. Now it's very obvious what the Heat are trying to do. They have a collection of nice young players while also having players in their primes or aging just a little bit, and that plan has worked pretty successfully over the past couple of seasons. They've been a consistent playoff team, and just a couple of years ago they made the NBA Finals in the bubble. And this year has been a really successful season. They're a 50+ win team and the first seed in the Eastern Conference, which has led to them having home court advantage until the finals. But with them being swept last season and many people thinking that their bubble run was a fluke, and also financially handicapping themselves for the future, giving max contracts to Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, and it looks like they're gonna give one to Tyler Hero. Barring some kind of shocking trade in the offseason or in the future, this is the squad that they have going forward in the NBA. And though I don't believe in this team to win a championship or even get to the finals, if I'm being quite honest with you, this is still their goal. I mean, they've already made an NBA championship, so making the finals is not acceptable anymore. It's now about winning the championship at this point. And if they don't win a championship this year, they're just going to be labeled as that regular season team that had a playoff run a couple of years ago where they went to the finals and it was a fluke. Those bubble guppy memes, man, they're going to be out there in abundance if they don't win a championship this year. Because in the future, I don't know what they're going to do if they don't have a championship with this squad that they have assembled so far. Because it's very clear they're committed to the core of Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo to be the future. And if that's the future, then hey, go for it. But let's move on to the next team, and we got the Milwaukee Bucks. Now it's very obvious why the Bucks are on this list. I mean, they're the champions of last year, and obviously if you're coming back from a season like that, the intention is to repeat what you did the season prior. And the Bucks this year have had a relatively solid season, winning over 50 games and finishing with a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. But we all know the regular season doesn't matter for a team like this. I mean, they literally spent a couple of years being at the top of the Eastern Conference with 60+ win seasons that didn't amount to anything. So obviously regular season success doesn't mean much for the Bucks. It's all about what they're going to do come postseason time. And a lot of people believe that what they did last year can't be replicated because a lot of things went in their favor. Obviously injuries to Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant's foot being on the line were the biggest reasons. But now this is the postseason for them to prove everybody wrong and show them why they are the true champions of the NBA. And let's hope that they can do that because hey, my Giannis as the next GOAT agenda, it's gonna be pushed if they can. Y'all know the vibes. But moving on to the next team, we have the team that could have beat them, the what-if champions of last year, the Brooklyn Nets. Now the Brooklyn Nets, I know they haven't even made a conference final or an NBA finals obviously, but that still doesn't matter. When you have Kevin Durant, who's viewed as a top 5 player in the league and many people believe is the best player in the NBA, then it's always going to be championship or bust. And with Kyrie Irving back, I don't really think the excuses are going to be there for Kevin Durant. I mean, sure, they don't have Ben Simmons, but Kyrie Irving with him allegedly was enough for them to beat the Bucks if they didn't get hurt. They were up 2-1, and apparently according to some people that was a death sentence for that team if Kyrie doesn't go down. And sure, you don't got Joe Harris, but you got Seth Curry right there, and maybe Ben Simmons comes back at some point in the postseason, though I am doubting that. My point is, you got the squad that you had last year with a few upgrades on the roster, and people said y'all could have won it all if y'all stayed healthy. Well, now you are. Is it going to be an uphill battle due to the injuries and Kyrie being out for a good chunk of the season? Sure, but with Kyrie more rested than arguably anybody entering these playoffs, and Kevin Durant, you being arguably the best player in the NBA alongside him, I don't care what the uphill battle is being the 7th seed. Y'all have to win a championship or it's a disappointment in my book. You left Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors for this. I'm expecting a championship to come out of it. But speaking of Steph Curry, that brings us to the next team. We have the Golden State Warriors. Now Steph Curry is probably going to be cleared by the time I drop this video tomorrow, so props to him on that because this team is going to need him as soon as the first round begins, and Nikola Jokic is going to be a handful for Draymond Green and that front court. But with the Warriors, it's very obvious why they're on this list. Sure, they haven't made the finals since 2019, which was 3 years ago, but now they have their core of Steph, Klay, and Draymond Green back together, and it's always going to be championship or bust with that core. It's not like they're all just completely washed up. Sure, you could say Klay Thompson isn't what he used to be, especially on the defensive side of the ball, but offensively, though he is streaky streaky, he's still somewhat the same player that's going to demand attention on the perimeter whether he's playing bad or good. As far as Draymond is concerned, he's still one of the best defenders in the NBA. You could argue is the best defender, just made an all-star team this past year, and probably would have won Defensive Player of the Year if he didn't get injured. And with Steph Curry being at the top as the best player on this team and a top 10 player in this league with multiple championships and MVPs on his resume, it's no surprise why it's championship or bust for him. And with the Clippers on the verge of potentially missing the playoffs, and even if they do, there is probably no Kawhi Leonard this postseason for them, this is an opportunity for them to take advantage of something that may not come around, them being able to get a championship after their dynasty has already ended. And if they do that, my goodness, is their place in history secure. I mean, we're talking about the legacies of everybody involved being affected in a dramatic way. Draymond Green's already on pace to make the Hall of Fame, but with another championship on his resume, we're talking about potentially top 50, for sure top 75 of all time. And as far as Klay Thompson is concerned, this is a guy that got snubbed off of the top 75 list, but with a championship on his resume this year, there's no way he doesn't make that next top 100 list that drops in the next 25 years. And as far as Steph Curry's legacy, the one thing that's missing from it is a finals MVP. Assuming he wins that finals MVP if they win the championship, we're not only talking about him finally getting that finals MVP, but he's probably going to catapult himself into the top 10 players of all time. And let's not forget Steve Kerr, who's probably going to be known as the top 10 coach of all time if they win another championship, because that would be 4 championships as a head coach. And sure, the roster is very adequate with depth. Shout out to Jordan Poole. He probably is going to win the most improved player of the year, and it's well deserved. But it's not like Steph, Klay, and Draymond are the players that they were in their primes at their peaks a couple of years ago, especially Klay and Draymond Green. Add on top of that, they're not even the first or second seed in the Western Conference or the favorites to even come out of the West. It would take an amazing coach to be able to win a championship with this roster. Not saying this roster isn't a great roster, but obviously adjustments are going to be made along the way. And yes, the Warriors' future does look bright with players like Poole, Kuminga, Moody, and even Wiseman if you want to throw him in there. I know he's a bit injury prone, but he is still young with potential. But that doesn't guarantee the Warriors are going to win a championship or even have a superstar in their midst with the young players that they already have. Combining those young players with a superstar in Steph Curry and a trio that has proven they can win a championship when they are all on the court in Steph, Klay, and Draymond Green, this is a very good opportunity for them to win a championship now before those guys start to age beyond the point that they can contend for championships. But moving on to the last and final team on this list, we have the Phoenix Suns. I mean, isn't it obvious? This is a 60+ win team that has the best record not only in the Western Conference but in the NBA by a mile. They are top 5 in damn near every single category, whether it's in clutch scoring with Chris Paul and Devin Booker, whether it's in points per game, opponents' points per game, defensive rating, offensive rating, you name the stat, they're there. And it's not just because they're a great team that had the best record in the NBA this year that they have to win a championship, but it's because they've been there. They were there last season. They were on the cuffs of winning that championship, and they blew a 2-0 lead to the Milwaukee Bucks. And if we're being honest, 2 plays decided that series and why they didn't win. The block on DeAndre Ayton and also the dunk by Giannis with the steal from Jrue Holiday. If those 2 plays don't happen, there's a good chance the Suns are looking to repeat this season. And with the season they've had, it's very obvious that they are the best team in the NBA statistically, and you could argue in roster construction as well. And with that being said, sure, they don't have a superstar like a Giannis or a Kevin Durant or a Joel Embiid or a Jokic, but they have Chris Paul and Devin Booker, who is seen as top 20 players in the league. They have DeAndre Ayton, who's a top 10 center in the NBA, a defensive player of the year candidate in Mikal Bridges, good roster depth and a solid bench with players like Cameron Johnson and Cameron Payne, a terrific coach that you could argue is the best coach in the league in Monty Williams. I mean, they have everything that you could want out of a championship team. They get it done on both ends, and honestly, there really is no excuse for them to not win a championship this year. It's championship or bust for every single team I mentioned in this video, but it especially is for the Phoenix Suns. But you guys let me know your opinions down below in the comment section. Make sure you follow me on social media. The links are down below for my Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. Y'all stay safe and have a blessed day. Peace.